Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Living the Dream. Happy 4th of July. Well, not when you see this video, but certainly today. Hope everything's going well for you guys. We have a little bit of an adventure going on for the next few days, and we're going to take you along with us. So stay tuned. So you guys have probably figured out that we have arrived at Lake Louisa State Park in Claremont, Florida. And you'll see some of the video coming in up on top here. Don't be misled if you are traveling southbound by the sign that says Lake Louisa Road, because that is not the entrance to the park. The entrance to the park has its own signage and its own street name, which is Lake
a couple miles
Louisa.
Past there.
Yeah, Lake Louisa State Park Road. So, check-in, not too bad, right?
Yeah. Usually it's pretty easy. They just tell you what site you're on, give you a map if you need it, tell you where you are, where to go.
And we thought we didn't need a map, but we did.
Forgot.
Yeah, so you'll see that too.
Yeah, so we got here and we were kind of early, which we've always come early, but this one particular time it doesn't look like the folks that are on our site, or were on our site, are done yet. So they tried to put us in another site, and we're like sideways. So
yeah, so don't adjust your TV. This is not a Batman episode. We're kind of listing a little bit to the right here.
So we're waiting for them to. They look like they were loading their cars. So, but the tent was still up. Hopefully, we'll just hang out and cool off a little bit, and maybe they'll leave soon.
Well, they got to leave some point. Yeah. But other than that, things are good. The ride over here is pretty decent. We're going through some Shell gas cards that we get from the Publix supermarket down here. So, and luckily, we found a little travel stop right here on State Route 50 where I was able to get in and out easy peasy and burn about four gas cards at about $200 a pop. So we are full, which is great because we're running the generator.
$50 a pop, total 200.
Total 200. That's it. Yeah. So all three air conditioners are running right now. Generator's on. It's actually pretty comfortable in here.
Yeah, it's not bad now.
It's a balmy 84 up front, and the rear is
81.
About 81 degrees, so actually very comfortable. So we're going to get settled in, and then we'll take you on a little bit of a walk, at least on the loop that we are at. And we look forward to having an easy week.
Chilling out.
Yeah, chilling out. So, indeed, what were we thinking? Yeah, you can probably tell that we are not in Lake Louisa. We are in our
home.
Yeah, in our spare bedroom. So let's fill you in. So I think we talked a few minutes ago, which was actually several days ago, about some folks being on our site when we arrived. And we want to start this video with telling you all that we are not prudes. We're not snobbish.
We're not stuffy.
We're not stuffy. But sometimes things are what they are. And, you know, one independent variable could certainly be looked at as, oh, well. But when those variables are put together collectively, they turn into a uh-oh.
Yeah, I don't think that or actually I should say, I don't think the behavior of other people means that we're snobs or stuffy. But the people that we were speaking of on our site were, well, they were very rude. They acted like, you know, we were putting them out.
Yeah, we were
although we
inconveniencing
had
them.
paid for that site, and we were supposed to be on that site, and we waited, gosh, what, almost 2 hours.
Yeah, so we arrived a little bit early.
And they were giving us all kinds of attitude, and just not
we arrived
good
about
people.
about 1 o'clock, and check-in is typically at 3, but checkout we believe is around 11 or 12.
Yeah, I think it's 11.
Yeah, so we were early, and they were in fact late. Fine, no harm, no foul. We'll work it out. We're all adults, but you know. But with regards to the state park, if you've been in any state park, and they're pretty much laid out all the same, there's not a lot of room to roam. So you guys know that we drive a 45-foot Newmar
Beast.
Bus, and not a lot of places for us to park that thing while we're waiting, because we don't want to inconvenience another RVer that's coming or going on a single road loop. But when we had pulled into the park, and Marge and I were talking a few minutes ago, we have been to this park at least a half dozen times, both alone and with friends of ours, and we have never encountered...
never gotten that, this doesn't feel right kind of feeling, which we felt when we arrived there, which was really unfortunate.
It was. And guys, we want you to know, please don't beat us up in a comment, but leave a comment below, you know, if we're saying something that you've experienced or you would have handled differently. So this has nothing to do with an RV being in disrepair. It has nothing to do with someone being on a tent or in a tent on a site. It has nothing to do with someone being shirtless. Like I said earlier, you know, an independent variable could be one thing, but collectively things paint a picture, and we all know that hopefully we trust our gut feeling in our you know, our response to things that make us feel awkward. So when we arrived at the campground, check-in was easy. You heard us say that, and as we pulled in, we noticed that there was a very obvious change in the looks of Lake Louisa. Not the park itself, but some of the folks that were occupying the park.
Sites were, where the actual campsites were.
Yeah, and we didn't video a lot of that because we didn't understand, you know, what we were rolling into. But when we arrived, we were originally told that we may have to come in the opposite way because the pedestal may be on the
opposite side where
opposite side where our utility bays are. So we wheeled in, and we noticed that there was a site. Marge and I looked at each other. We checked the card that the ranger gave us, and we noticed that there was in fact.
I actually
folks.
checked. They send a confirmation email, and that was what, months ago. I even checked that, thinking, geez, maybe you wrote down the wrong number, but it was indeed our site.
Right, and always trying to look to the positive, right, to give everyone the benefit of the doubt or whatever. So we looped around, and I found a back-in spot that you saw earlier that was a little bit unlevel, and we called the ranger station, not to rat anybody out, but to ask them if there was another spot that maybe we could get, and unfortunately, because it was 4th of July, there was nothing. The one spot that we were parked in waiting was in fact open, but we would have had a very difficult time getting level. So we opted.
And the slides open.
The trees.
The trees and so on.
Things were a little bit closed for the slides on the motorhome. So we vacated that spot, and we came back around to where our spot was, and we were able to back in diagonal to where site 19, which would have been our site, was. And we simply sat there. I shut the motorhome off. We had the 4-way flashes on in case someone pulled in that was going to occupy that spot. And we noticed that the ranger had pulled up in her Ranger vehicle and was having a conversation with this lone occupant at this point. Now, in the earlier segment a couple of minutes ago, when Marge and I were talking, sitting in the unlevel site, you noticed a blue minivan drive by, and I'll play that again. That was in fact part of this deal. So we had sat there for probably a good hour listening to the Yankee game, which was at least something to
at least they
make
were
us
winning.
smile. At least they were winning, yeah. So after about an hour and 20 minutes, I opted to go over and speak with the gentleman that was there. And he had a couple of dogs with him, and I think a third dog had already left with an elderly gentleman who came from another site, with a shopping cart, and it just was really an odd picture that we had never experienced anywhere. And guys, if you do not believe me, we are not judging these folks. To each his own. We hope they're happy. We hope they're having dinner with whoever they want at their table. And I yelled a couple of times, not even accessing the property, to say, hey, I'm here. Can we chat? And the guy answered me from inside the tent, and then he finally came out. And I had the card with me, and I said, I think we're supposed to be on this site. Do you have any idea how long you're going to be? And can I help you do anything? Again, very polite, because that's just how we are. I was met with, it's going to be at least another half hour, 45 minutes. I'm waiting for a ride to come get me, which kind of just
weird.
Yeah, threw me for a loop, because you're several hours over checkout. Again, maybe something happened. Maybe the vehicle broke down. Who knows? But always looking to look at it positively. So I simply said I'd be back waiting in the motorhome, and when they had an opportunity to clear out, we would pull in. So we sat there again, just chilling out, and obviously sitting in the front seat of the motorhome. We're facing that site.
Well, something too, I think, is that you had mentioned is the guy didn't make any eye contact with you when he talked to you, which is
a little awkward.
That's a little odd sometimes with people that you're talking directly to them, and they so it gives you a creepy kind of feeling.
Yeah, it did.
Really
And you may not be able to tell in the video, but there was a tent on the site, which is fine. The picnic table had a bunch of debris on top of it. The dogs were sheltered under there because it was ungodly hot and it was the only shade. But there was all kinds of debris
all over the
strewn
place.
all over the not the pad part of it, but the wooded
surroundings of the actual site.
Yeah, and Marge and I weren't really sure if that property was even theirs or if someone left it there. There was a couple of there's the expandable metal where people would put a canopy up that was kind of thrown into the woods and whatever. So we sat there, and again, we didn't put a lot of this on video, but the gentleman that was at the tent, the younger gentleman, kept making eye contact with me and throwing his hands up in the air, almost like a what the. You fill in the word or whatever. Yeah, but I had no choice. I mean, there's nowhere for us to go. And then the elderly gentleman came back. I believe he was absent the shopping cart at this point, but they wound up taking a whole bunch of their property and chucking it into the woods.
Just
and
randomly throwing things.
Yeah, almost
around surrounding the site
but
again.
Angrily, kind of looked like they were upset or.
We were really putting them out.
And maybe, and again, we don't know that. We're speculating. Maybe he was just hot and annoyed and things weren't going his way. Whatever the case may be, we have, two things trying to occupy one space at the same time, and something has to give. So at any point, they had moved their property to what would be the end of the pad to park, but had I had to turn around and come in the opposite way as the ranger suggested, I had no entrance because the property was there, which was fine. I actually pulled in the correct way, so the pedestal would be on the opposite side. If I'm hopefully not confusing you. So the pedestal would be on the right side of the motorhome if you pull in correctly to this loop. And we just weren't level, and it was a little crazy and so forth. So they had come back, and it was actually the very same blue minivan that interestingly enough did not have a tag on it. They loaded the rest of the vehicle, and then they were off to Tennessee or Beverly, wherever they were going. Beverly Hillbilly song. Yeah. So in any event, I wound up pulling out, backing into another open spot, and then coming in the opposite way so that the pedestal would be on the left of the motorhome, and we were still
cattywampus.
Yeah, we were, and we were unlevel again, and it gave us a good opportunity to just chill out and
figure out what
was going on.
Do,
yep. So I came outside the motorhome, did my measurements on the slide to make sure I could clear everything, which was fine. Put the tire covers on, dumped the air, and was waiting for the motor to cool down, and you know, Margie and I were just looking at each other, and I point blank said, listen, I know we're trying to make up for a trip, but this does not sit well with me. Guys, if you know anything about me, I retired as a police officer in upstate New York.
Oh, that was my next thing I was
Yeah,
gonna
this
say.
is not about someone making
you know,
me feel scared to death or
being
whatever.
a police officer for 24 years, you kind of learn to go off your instinct or your gut feeling about something. And even me, and I was not in law enforcement, did not have a good feeling about the stay, the people that, or he dealt with. I didn't deal with them, but nothing against any of the people working there. The Rangers are fantastic. Just not a good feeling there.
Yeah. So when we pulled in, one of the volunteer rangers pulled up, and I explained to her what I saw about them throwing the debris in the woods, and I helped them clean it up, and it was some water bottles and some other stuff, nothing crazy. But I just didn't want them to think that we had done that. And unfortunately, you know, sometimes in this day and age where people are held accountable for something they didn't really do or whatever. So we just didn't want that on our record, if you will. But again, guys, we are not trying to sound judgmental. We are not trying to sound like, hey, my God, they're outside of our societal class. It has nothing to do with that. It just made us feel uneasy. So we opted, probably at my pushiness, to vacate and come home. So we packed everything up, aired everything up, and off to the ranger station we went. And as I was explaining to the very same gentleman that you saw in the beginning of the video that checked margin, everything that I just shared with you folks, that ranger had come around the corner and said to me, and I wasn't really looking for any validation or any backup, but said, hey, your gut feeling is spot on. She said, unfortunately, we've been dealing with this all week with this particular crew, and I don't blame you for leaving. And they were actually excellent about reimbursing everything, inclling the daily fees.
Yeah.
And so what are we looking at, like $20-something a night and then $10 for fees?
I think it's 27 or 28 a night. And then, whatever those, like park
utility
fees. Like
and park fees.
Yeah, if you were going to go there and you weren't camping, if you're just going to spend the day at the park, there's like a fee for that. I want to say maybe $10.
Yeah, still reasonable.
Very reasonable.
And such a beautiful park. If you look at some of our other videos, you'll see how beautiful it is, surrounded by
lakes there.
Yeah, they got a little,
it's just gorgeous.
The little Campers Canteen, which is their store. You could rent kayaks, horseback ride. I mean, they have actually air-conditioned tents.
Firewood. Not that we wanted firewood. It was 98 degrees.
Yeah, we were on the surface of the sun. Yeah. So in any event, she had mentioned that she was dealing with this, and that she was in fact the ranger to come up and read them the riot act. And unfortunately, because of, again, not to sound political, but because of the way the world is now, or at least our country, she has no recourse. She can't evict them from the park. Even though she had gotten several complaints about them from other campers, which, again, we did not know until we were leaving, and it certainly didn't change our mind. So all in all, a double thumbs down.
Yeah, they did mention about not going there in the summer and trying to come back in the fall or winter. We are going to give it another try, and we'll see what happens. We hate to hang it up with, because like I said, we've been there half a dozen times. It's a beautiful park.
Area too. It's so reminiscent of the north, the Adirondack regions and things like that.
Just really
and
nice
the sad
there.
state of affairs is I've actually been reading some articles, and you guys may be following them as well, on some newsletters that I subscribe to, where this is actually a national problem, and where folks are overthrowing campgrounds, and it's a concern. And nobody wants to say it, but we will. There's a class of society, however they've become that class is not our business nor our responsibility, that just doesn't follow the social norms, and it is what it is.
They don't follow the rules either.
Well, that's just it. And guys, if any one of us had an issue breaking down the RV, something went wrong, that was not this. This was clearly a case of, I'm going to do what I want.
And it's our fault that we wanted to get onto the site that we paid for. That's not right.
Yeah. So the reason for our leaving, and you may be shocked, we didn't really say, we were just very concerned. Now, we had no plans to do anything, maybe a little bit of fishing, because Margie's parents had sent her a collapsible fishing pole, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we usually do our fishing at Publix, in
the seafood
in the
section.
frozen fish aisle, or whatever they call it, seafood section. But we hadn't planned on leaving the RV. We hadn't brought any bicycles or anything, and
We
we
just
knew it was
wanted
going to be
to
hot, so it
just
was,
relax.
yeah, just chill out for the week and escape and kind of regroup. But my concern was something happening that I could not respond to. A punctured tire, a rock being thrown into our 96 by 65 inch windscreen or windshield that we just had tinted, or setting fire to
Just
the
that
RV.
kind
Who
of,
knows?
yeah, that kind of
Yeah.
feeling that.
And I've never had that feeling in forever of many years of RVing. We have never had that that experience. So we consider what we did the right thing for us. You may or may not have done it. If you, again, I'd love to see some comments, because what did I say? Friction builds fire, right? So I'd love to see some comments, positive and negative. Do you think we did the right thing? Would you have done something different? And again, I won't lie to you. Comments won't change our mind. What we did, we think we needed to do to protect us. And
I think we were extremely laid back and not submissive, but not aggressive about it.
No, we're really
just-
not aggressive about anything.
Right. So I don't think, I don't really see where we would get negative comments on what we did.
But we may. I mean, some people may have said you just, you had your site, hang out, and if they
you
come
don't
back,
like, leave,
hit them in the
you
head
know.
hit them in the head with a hammer and put a bag over their head. I don't know.
Put them in the bag and hit them in that.
That's it. I couldn't think of what it was for Christmas vacation. So in any event, sad to say, double thumbs down for our 4th of July escape trip to Lake Louisa. It did not go as planned at all, but we were able to get there and get back, and a stop at Dunkin' Donuts for a really awesome chocolate shake. Or
No, you had a Java something.
Java something.
I don't know. Something.
So in any event, stay tuned. We'll be heading up to Ho Hum in the Panhandle, early in August to celebrate Margie's birthday, and we're going to have some folks trailering with us, which will always be a hoot. So until then, guys, keep living the dream. Please stay safe, healthy, alert. If you want, jump over to our Facebook page, which is titled Living the Dream YouTube. You can participate in our coffee question of the day.
Oh, yeah.
And have some fun posting what you do to live your dream.
Ciao.